This video gives a very brief overview of the Minoan civilization. You should read your textbook and the additional materials as well, though, to get the best overview of the Minoans. Now, the most important place within the Minoan civilization, we think, was Knossos. This was a palace, excavated by Sir Arthur Evans in 1921 to 1935, and this was the first discovery of the Minoan civilization. Knossos wasn't the only palace, though. There were others. These may have been more regional in orientation, and this has led to the description of the Minoan civilization as a palace society. These other palaces have the same plan as Knossos, indicating that there was a school of professionally trained architects building them. Knossos is the biggest, though. The Palace of Knossos has famous wall paintings. These depict peaceful scenes of local plant and animal life, and they depict religious ceremonies. There's really not that many military depictions at all. There are also many images of women, such as the one here in the bottom right, which has led some to wonder whether women were equal or even superior to men in Minoan society. The images also don't really show people with much authority over others. As in Mesopotamia, the Palace of Knossos was at the center of Minoan society, and it seems to have controlled the economy and the redistribution of goods. The palaces also seem to have been ceremonial centers. Over time, it's been suggested that they have become less public and more shut off, being home to a learned sector of Minoan society, a dynastic palace. There is debate over the political structure of the Minoans, though. It was assumed that the larger palaces were centers of kingdoms on Crete, the main island of Minoan civilization, with a centralized system allowing the wealth to build such giant palaces. The food storage space and the finds of tablets containing lists of foodstuffs indicates that it was an elite deriving income from a large region. Larger and well-appointed rooms can be identified in the palaces, indicating that they might have been for a king and queen, especially since a throne was found at Knossos. That's in the picture here on the right. It doesn't look too impressive to our minds today, but that seems to be the throne against the right-hand side wall. The palaces all have a unique feature that dominates their layout. A large, open, rectangular central court. You can see this in the plan on the left. We think the central court could have been used to host public events, but they're hard to access. Look at all those rooms around it. So it might be for the elites in society. At Knossos, it would have allowed for standing room for 5,000 people. These open courts are also aligned with mountain peaks and sacred caves, suggesting that they might have had religious purposes. So, who lived in the palace? Evans, the excavator, was influenced by the mythological tales of King Minos and his architect Daedalus. But the imagery might mean that women had power. The palaces may have just been ceremonial, since there is very little archaeological evidence for domestic life. The palaces are at the centre of towns, though, and the archaeologist John Bincliffe has tried to calculate how many people lived there. He thinks Knossos had between 9,000 and 30,000 inhabitants, with another town on the island of Crete, Malea, having 6,000 to 15,000 inhabitants. So this would mean that roughly a quarter of the population could fit inside the central court. Minoan Crete has a lot of archaeological remains. This shows that the levels of population and land use were so high that they weren't at the same level again until the Roman Empire. This high level of population could probably be supported by better agricultural technology, ploughs, terracing, damming, olive and vine production, and a balance between the demands of urban areas and what the countryside could produce. This land use system was also identified on Santorini or Thera, showing that the Minoans had good knowledge in this area of technology compared to other parts of the Mediterranean Sea. From skeleton evidence, it seems that the Minoans had a good diet and didn't suffer much from disease. I'll pick up from this point in the next video.